Welcome back, Ole Miss fans. I'm here with Daylan Flowers for another episode of the Rebel Talk podcast. We're coming at you here. It's Monday afternoon after Ole Miss wiped the floor with Arkansas 63-31. It was a historical day in Fayetteville. Daylan, you were in the stands. Just your take on this offense and this incredible performance from the Rebels.
Fun weekend, man. First off, make sure you guys are subscribing to our YouTube channel. Leave a like and comment and share the video as well. We appreciate your support as we try to grow our brand. And we can't do that without you guys' support. So make sure you're pressing that subscribe button down below and
Absolutely.
continue checking out our Rebel Wall content every single week. And we have a lot more in store for you guys here in the near future. Man, it was a fun time being in Fayetteville, man. For people that don't know or not familiar with my voice and face, I'm from Arkansas. I grew up in Little Rock. But I spent so much time in Fayetteville growing up. I bleed Razorback red to the day I die. And I've made it a family tradition since I started my time here at Ole Miss to see family and close friends at the Fayetteville in the Arkansas game. We've gone to Oxford and now Fayetteville twice. It was truly a great moment for me to be back home. A lot of smiles on my faces. But it was a cool atmosphere, man. I think Arkansas fans kind of recognized the opportunity they had to go bowl eligible with the win against Ole Miss. Didn't happen for them, unfortunately. And I think as well, Arkansas fans truly are questionable about where this football team for them can be headed. But it was a game for Ole Miss that I think we needed. I think it was a great resume win, not only just beating Arkansas, but beating them the way we did, over the last 4 games before Arkansas. This offense hadn't accumulated more than 27 points. So to come out there in the first half and over exceed that was tremendous. I think I said this going into the preview of the Arkansas game last week with you, but I truly just wanted this offense to be a little bit more free, open up, have some fun. And that's what they did this weekend. Obviously, it's easier said than done when you're struggling, but we came out right out the gate, took the crowd out of the game, and that was important. Fayetteville is a place that the Rebels have not won at since 2008, and they came out immediately attacking the weaknesses of Travis Williams' defense, which was evident. It's crazy that Arkansas, we've seen them this year, and so many people, especially after that Tennessee game for Arkansas, were like, "Wow, this defense is electric,"
Right.
and Travis has now got himself a head coaching job. But here's where the difference lacked in our game and where Arkansas played Tennessee. Number one is the depth. I truly believe when it comes to the November part of the season, you can be as great as you possibly are throughout those first couple of months. But in November, that's where the depth shows. And Arkansas just lacks it on both sides of the ball. And we don't this year. And that's why so many people have bought into the Rebels football team this year and are so frustrated that we have 2 losses. But the talent of depth and just the difference of talent in general show, sticking on the defensive line and how incredible they have been. Number one rushing defense in the conference, lead the conference in sacks. They were getting after the Arkansas offensive line. They were confusing the O linemen. The Arkansas line couldn't pick up a lot of their blocks or push a lot of their blocks to other help. Taylor Green had to tuck and run a lot of times, which confused their game plan. And the defensive line truly, truly, truly just played incredible. I want to ask you really quick before we get too
Let's
far.
do it.
What are your thoughts about the passing game? And when I say that, we missed two truly key guys this weekend, and Caden Prescorn and Trey Harris, who I believe will be playing football on Sundays in the near future. But man, we see record-breaking numbers in a place that we haven't won in almost 10 years. A defense that gave up a lot of points against Mississippi State, against other teams as well. But I truly believe still had enough talent to do a little bit more damage than they did. I want to ask you, Zach, just what are your thoughts about the offense now, and the ability that we may get a little bit more healthier on the offensive line, and in the receiving room as well going into Georgia, based off what you saw this weekend?
Yeah, man, I think the sky's the limit moving forward. I will say I don't think those were the best set of defensive backs that Ole Miss is going to come across, especially, going against a team like Georgia who has a guy like Malachi Starks, true proven commodities who are going to be starting in the NFL next year. But with that being said, the offense has been doing what we've seemingly been asking it to do all year long, and
Exactly.
that's spread the ball around, right? That first drive, Juice Wells starting to look like how Trey Harris did a couple weeks ago. Juice is moving around in space. He's picking up yards. Lane commented on it after the game, but he didn't believe that was an offensive pass interference when Juice caught that touchdown. It was a call that could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Then Daquan Wright looks incredible. I didn't know he was this athletic.
Yeah.
I was watching this. I'm like, what the hell is going on, man? Like, this guy, not only is he catching these passes, but he's getting yards after the catch, and he's doing it efficiently. And then, it goes unspoken, but Jordan Watkins with a record-setting game. He was torching the Arkansas defensive backs, and I think he's a guy who can fly under the radar a little bit when Trey Harris comes back, because Trey's going to be that deep threat, and Jordan's a guy who can work back into the slot, or you can work him outside to get over the middle of defenses and play a similar role as a tight end would play, doing those quick slant routes, those quick routes that establish him open in space where he can get yards after the catch. And if you can do that with Jordan Watkins and Daquan Wright and Caden Prieskorn and have your home run hitters like Trey Harris, or maybe it remains Jordan Watkins, the sky's the limit for this offense, man. And that leads me into my next talking point, the running back room, right? Henry Parrish goes out. He's probably going to be out for the season. Prayers up to him that look bad. But instead of Ulysses Bentley taking on this role, which I don't know what you thought, Daylan, but I thought Bentley was going to come in the game and be the starting running back, we see Dominic Thomas. Now, initially, I was like, what is Kiffin doing? What is happening? But Thomas looked to be a pretty solid running back. So I'm like, why is this guy not gotten any touches? He's a running back who falls forward almost every time he gets tackled, so he gets an extra yard or two, which is something that Bentley and Parrish struggle with. And his pass blocking looked really good. I just want to get your thoughts on that, man.
I'm glad that you brought it up. And, I've had these continued thoughts in my head like, okay, maybe we're waiting until this Georgia game to not give the Georgia defense too much film, too much understanding of the weapons we have on offense. And that may be something that actually happens. But as well, it's definitely in question. I sat when Dominic Thomas came in and got a few more reps than I thought he would. And I'm tapping on my mom next to me. I'm like, why is UB sitting over there on the sideline? Why are we not seeing Ulysses get some touches in this game, which he needs, and as well will open up this offense? I think we obviously haven't seen Rashad Amos either, but I think I want to give this point out, and you can maybe agree to disagree, and fans watching can agree to disagree too. Ulysses really is a two-type running back. He either is very slow when he gets the ball and sometimes wait on his offensive line to make certain blocks or waiting for a gap to open. Yeah. But as well, I see him rush into the line of scrimmage really, really fast sometimes. And I think Henry Parrish did that a lot too. And I honestly believe coaches may not have wanted that same type of ineffectiveness with the quickness going into the line of scrimmage. And I don't know if that played a big cause of why we haven't seen him so much this year. And obviously, Henry Parrish goes out, and we wish the best on his recovery, and hopefully we can see him back before the season ends. Doubtful, but we hope we do. But it's truly a questionable topic. I honestly don't want to talk too much about it because I feel like it's been going on all season.
Yeah.
But my condemns go to Ulysses Bentley because regardless of what the situation is, he's really done a good job at just keeping his head down, not making this a bigger drama piece than it needs to be. And when he's given the opportunity, he's made them happen, like against LSU. But we'll see, man. I would honestly, of course, love to see Ulysses. And I honestly don't think we have much of a choice at this point, especially with Matt Jones still being out and Henry Parrish going out. I think Ulysses will have to get more touches with Dominic Thomas. We will see where Rashad Amos will fit into this plethora of the running back room. We obviously have not seen him that much either this year. And I think that's a frustrating part for fans in general because the program has diverted so much for this season's at. So much, we put all the food on the plate, and Lane has the spoon and the fork to eat it, but he's not eating it. And, that's where we come into question. You've been given the keys to the program, everything you've asked for.
Yeah.
School, this program, the NIL collective has done for you. Why are we not seeing what truly can be effective for this football team? And, going to the offense in general as well, man, I hate to bring it up, but Charlie Weiss is the highest paid OC in the conference. And the mistakes that we've seen this year are not only unacceptable, but they're unacceptable for the talent that we have on this football team. greater than any season in Ole Miss history. You won't get this talent back next year. And if we do get it back, it won't be anytime soon. So, that's the piece that's going to take us very, very far. The talent difference showed against Arkansas. We have better players on both lines of scrimmage. We have a better linebacking core. We have great receivers, but we haven't used them.
No.
And the defense has put so much in this season. And give props to Pete Golden, Chris Paul Jr., TJ Daugherty played lights out
Yeah.
this past weekend. They have played tremendously on the defense side of the ball. An improvement from 2 years ago before Pete Golden got here. I would never have dreamed a Lane Kiffin team having a defense like this. And now we've gone, 9 games of the season. Like, wow, the offense finally has done what we expect them to do. Dump the ball up to the tight end in the middle of the field. Develop a little bit of a balanced running game. Use Jordan Watkins' effective route running, and that's what we did this past weekend. Juice, like you said, Juice Wells got involved early, and I was so proud to see that because he's lacked, but as well, we haven't set him up for a lot of great plays this entire season, other than the 4 non-conference games that we played to the start of the season. A lot of things opened up, and I think that was Lane and company saying the time is now, and it is. Pressure was on this weekend to get a win, and we did that, but we did it in convincing fashion. And I'm very proud of how we did that, and that hopefully builds on the momentum going into Georgia, because I think we built off that from the second half against Oklahoma. Now to how do we continue with the great week of practice to do the same thing in what's going to be a raucous game against the Georgia Bulldogs, man.
It's going to be nuts, Daylan. And I just want to, kind of touch back on what you said. The offensive play calling has been disgraceful for the entire year, except really that second half against Oklahoma and finally the Arkansas game when the entire offense just went berserk. It was something that we've been waiting on for the entire year. But I want to touch back a little bit. I really am just curious to see how Ole Miss can try and establish any sort of run game against a Georgia defense that doesn't really allow it. Georgia is full of NFL players all over the board. They're actually very similar in talent to Ole Miss. In my opinion, they could be argued as the 2 most talented rosters in the nation. But now you take Henry Parrish out of the equation, and it's Dominic Thomas, it's Ulysses Bentley. I do think they'll roll with Thomas a little more because we talked about it on the Stephen Willis show a little bit last night, but Thomas is a guy who, when he hits the hole, he hits it hard, and he hits it. He hits it hard, and he gets it. He establishes that his presence is going to hit it, and he's going to run through it. Versus Bentley, he's a guy who, similar to Henry Parrish, he waits for the play to develop, and he's looking for this home run, run because he has the speed and he has the ability to do so. But if you want a guy to get immediate yards and, try and average 4 to 5 yards per carry, I think Thomas is going to be your guy, which I didn't think I'd ever say. But I also believe it's part of the reason that Matt Jones was playing earlier in the year was because Jones isn't shifty. He's not agile like Parrish or Bentley. He's a guy who's going to get the ball and he's going to run straight and he's going to run very hard. And I think that's what you're going to get out of Dominic Thomas. Also wanted to add, Daylan, Rashad Amos isn't even on the depth chart.
Yeah.
I saw today it was Ulysses Bentley or Dominic Thomas or Matt Jones. No sign of Rashad Amos. But then you go ahead and apply that into Arkansas. And last week, Dominic Thomas wasn't on the depth chart.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to look too much into that. I just think it's worth acknowledging. And I think it's going to be a key point heading into Georgia. But looking back on this defensive side of the ball, the dudes are being dudes right now, Daylan. Prince Imamielen, Walter Nolan, first-round picks, just being absolute studs out there. And they're going to play an offensive line in Georgia who is probably the closest thing to the LSU offensive line, who I believe is the best in the country. But what people are forgetting, yes, Ole Miss got 0 sacks against LSU, but I thought they did an okay job applying pressure. And they're playing without Prince Imamielen. He's the best pass rusher on the team, arguably the best pass rusher in the country, and he's not on the field. So naturally, it's going to create some holes and it's going to create some adversity that Ole Miss wasn't used to. Now you have him back. You have him back at full strength. You have Sontarian Perkins playing out of his mind. I think you can get to Carson Beck and make him uncomfortable. like we've seen all season, he's going to throw interceptions and he's going to force turnovers. I just want to get your early thoughts. I know we're going to do a show previewing this matchup. But what do you think about, Georgia's performance against Florida and just how they've looked overall this year?
Well, I kind of bailed off what you just talked about right there, and I'll talk about our defense and what we saw against Arkansas and the Georgia offense. Look, like you just said, Princely Mamielin was not a really. I think he was on one drive against LSU, but other than that, we didn't see him play. Go back and watch the Arkansas game. His effectiveness on the line of scrimmage to truly not even just grab and tug offensive linemen or use his strength to push them away. He's just very, very quick. Princely is quick, and he's quicker than most offensive linemen in the country, and there's almost no stopping that. Now, sometimes he used that quickness, and quarterbacks will either tuck it and run or step up in the pocket, and we don't truly get what we want, which is a sack, and that's okay. And that's where our linebacking core and our secondary really has to step up against a Georgia team. We have done this a lot all season, and that's missed a lot of interceptions. We did tremendously amount against LSU. Chris Poopall Jr., who had an outstanding game against Arkansas, don't get me wrong, but drops an easy interception. And it's like you have to take the opportunities that are really handed to you. And so when that defensive line gets pressure on the quarterback, number one, ask yourself, can we finish sacks? We did that so much better against Arkansas, not only putting pressure on Taylor Green and Malachi Singleton, but actually finishing the play in the backfield like as well when we got Arkansas right there on their own end zone. I saw Pete bring in Princely, got up the field. TJ Daughter had a disguise play and also got up the backfield, and we made things happen. We have the ability to do that. But it's also the accountability of TJ Becks, of Trey Amos, of John Saunders Jr., of Chris Poopall Jr. Can those guys use their hands effectively and make some interceptions happen? We've seen Carson Beck over the last few weeks. The guy has 8 interceptions over his last 3 games. This does not look like the Carson Beck that a lot of people saw last year.
No.
And a lot of times his interceptions are not even coming off pure pressure. He's just not understanding the disguises of double coverages, safeties coming up and dropping back to play the ball, even linebackers coming up to drop it up and try to stop the run game, but as well dropping back to help in the pass game, which our linebacking crew does really well. Carson Beck is a guy as well that can really, really mess your defense up. Georgia, has the second worst rushing offense in the country, right above in the conference, right in front of LSU. Also, second to last in the conference in first down rushing. So you'll see this offense throw the ball, throw the ball a lot. Now, may they adjust to that because they know what this defense may focus for? Maybe. Because Trevor Etienne, Georgia star running back, I'm sure will play against Ole Miss this weekend, but was beat up against Florida, and his injury status is definitely in question right now. But as well, this Ole Miss defense is the number 1 rushing defense in the conference this year. They have stopped every offense they've gone up against. They've contained running backs on the inside and the out, stopped them running backs from blocking the quarterback really well. This defensive line has set up the run game really well. But now how do we also contain what we've done on the run game effectively on the pass game? You'll see Georgia take a few deep balls, not too often though. And I won't go too far into this because I don't want to go too far into our preview. But watch what Pete Golding does. I think this weekend we'll play a little bit more basic and not seeing too many blitzes. But this is the opportunity for our secondary to really make some plays happen. They play, I think, a little, upbeat and a little bit more better than I think a lot of people thought they were going into the season. But that interception ratio is not where we think it can be. And I think this is an opportunity against a quarterback that has struggled in that department this season to really implement how great they can be. Expect John Saunders Jr. to maybe try to have an interception this game. Play really, really great all season long. His numbers are not going to show that, but if you're watching this football team and you have a good eye test, you'll see he's played a really, really great season. And I really can't shout him out enough, but watching him maybe try to play a little ball hawk this game, maybe it's Trey Amos as well. This defense is going to have to create turnovers like they did against Arkansas to have a chance against Georgia. And the offensive side, going back to 2022, Jackson Dart's first year, Quinshon Judkins does phenomenal. And, I know this guy misses a few games with injury, But you saw how effective the offense was when Zach Evans was here and how much of a power running back he was, especially in the red zone and getting those first downs when we needed and getting some tough yards to take
Yeah.
the load off Quinshawn. Maybe Dominic Thomas is that Zach Evans to what we hope to see Ulysses continue to be, which is the elusive and breaking tackles and speed guy that he can be. Do we use that combination? I'm just a journalist. I'm sharing my opinions. I'm not going to be the one making those calls at the end of the day, but you would think it'd be really effective because this is going to be a Georgia team that understands the pressure not only on themselves, but that we have as well. And so they're going to understand what it's going to take to stop our offense. And look, numbers wise, this is still a top 5 rushing team in the conference. But with the eye test, a lot of things have come into question. Why are we continuing to run up the A and B gaps? Why are we not trying to run more HB tosses on the outside? Why are we not setting our running back ups for more short passes, then allowing the running game to try to open up a little bit more? So those are things that have come in the key. And I hate to say this to you, Zach, because I hate to make excuses for people to think I'm making excuses. But the offensive line has really been banged up this year throughout the entire season, and we're still missing 2 to 3 starters on the offensive line. That we obviously have depth because of the transfer portal, but I think seeing Jaden Williams or seeing Reese James or seeing Reese McIntyre or Jeremy James out there a little bit more this season would maybe help this offense. But we truly don't know because we haven't seen it yet. But that's some things to look out for. Continuing the short passing to open up the deep balls. Look, Jackson Dart over the last couple conference games has definitely made some questionable throws. His deep balls have not been put on the money. He's not reading the defenses as quickly as we'd like him to. But against Arkansas, man, it just looked like with ease he was putting the ball in. And to bring up the topic as well, the TV scene of him kind of going off on whoever he's going off was, some people are like, oh, blah, 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 he's pity, blah, blah, blah. That's the Jackson Dart I need to see for the rest of the season. That's the Jackson Dart that has stepped up, showed his leadership, showed his pride, because at the end of the day, that's the leader of this football team. Yeah. That's the guy this offseason everyone's talking about. He's calling recruits. He's calling transfer portal guys, come here because we're going to make a dynamic run for a championship this year. Jackson Dart is a person when the team is struggling, when the offense is struggling, these guys are going to look up to. And not only did he show that on the sideline this past weekend, but he showed that with his actions on the field, dumping the ball off when he needed to, not taking stupid sacks, sliding instead of taking big hits, making the correct throws, making the correct reads, and truly being in the ear of every person when they needed him to be. I expect that this weekend against Georgia. I expect the hot Jackson Dart. Because if we don't have our leader that's up the butt of everyone when we need him to be. We can't rely on anyone else. Coaches can only go so far in that department. You need a player leader, and that's who Jackson Dart is and should be from here on out. I think that's something that finally clicked in him. I don't know why it took this long, but finally clicked in him. Maybe the Halloween little conversation that was going on, maybe that clicked that fired him. But I loved it from Jackson Dart this weekend. This team runs on whatever he runs on, and the ability of Jackson we've seen be at a high level, but we've also seen be at a really low level, unfortunately. And I really just expect him to put his head down, make plays happen against Georgia like he did against Arkansas. But watch out for that deep ball. If Jackson Dart is completing the deep ball like he did to Jordan Watkins this past weekend, watch out because there's no stopping that. And that only frees up our short passing game, our medium passing game, and hopefully will continue to free up the running game just a little bit more, not only for our running backs, but for Jackson Dart to use his legs a little bit more effectively as well. So we will talk about that a little bit more going into the week. But man, oh man, I'm just proud of the way this football team is not sat down. After the LSU, in the back of my head, I'm like, I really hope the players don't lose faith and passion to finish this season out strong, and they haven't. They've continued to play hard. They've continued to do their jobs, and I'm really, really proud of that because they could have easily just said, you know what, what's the point anymore? But now within this part of November, the SEC is so compacted that we don't even know who's going to be in the conference championship game at this point. It's so tight right now that we honestly control our own destiny if we continue to play how I know and like we just saw this past weekend against Arkansas Razorback. It's going to be a fun one, man. It's definitely going to be a fun one. I hope we can get a little bit healthy. And one thing I will say, and then I'll let you get your point across as well, man. Lane Kiffin, you have to either when you get in the red zone on 4th and 1, please, I beg you to just bring JJ the keys in.
Dude.
Don't do that. Take the 3 points that are given to you. This is an opportunity to learn from your mistakes. We did it against Arkansas. We did it against LSU. We did it against Kentucky, where we didn't take the opportunities that were handed to us. And, Arkansas game, we figured it out, adjusted, and got better. But our 2 losses, we did not continue to do the same thing over and over again and expected a different result, and it didn't happen. We have to take every ample opportunity to be better against Georgia. And it's going to be a fun game, and 2 of the most penalized teams in the conference. But we played a really clean game against Arkansas, and I was proud of that too on both sides of the ball. Limited amount of penalties, and I not only think that helped us excel, but that helped our tempo offense to run as fast as they wanted to and create the plays and create the confusions for the Arkansas defense as they wanted to. This is the time. People saw how great this Ole Miss football team can actually be against Arkansas, and we got to build on it, man. We really do. So we'll see. We'll obviously continue getting some more injury reports throughout the week, but we'll see how this prepares us for the Georgia Bulldogs coming up.
No, man, and this is the game, right? We've been talking about this from the second the Peach Bowl ended and the transfer portal was open last year. It was Ole Miss versus Georgia. They're running it back after Ole Miss got smacked last year. It's in Oxford. Lane Kiffin's recruited all these guys because he recognized that Ole Miss was lacking. Yeah. They were lacking length, strength, speed, size, everything you can think of against the premier college football program in Georgia. This is it, man. Backs against the wall. You have everything still in front of you, even after losing a game to Kentucky. Let's go back to that day. I'm walking out of Vaught Hemingway Stadium. In my mind, after what I just watched, I'm thinking, we're not going to Columbia next week and winning. We're definitely not going to bounce back and beat LSU. We're probably not going to go to Fayetteville and win. But you've worked some things out, and you still managed to put yourself in a position to really control your own destiny and get as high as maybe even a 5, 6, or 7 seed to even host a playoff match. ESPN's coming out with their college football playoff rankings tomorrow. So I'm sure that's what most Americans will be focused on tomorrow night. Definitely not the election. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, keep your eyes tuned because we saw really kind of a stark difference. Ole Miss was voted 12th in the coaches poll versus 16th in the AP poll. So I would lean somewhere in the middle there. Maybe a 13, 14 spot, maybe a 12 spot if the voters are feeling generous. But like I said, we talked about it. Daylan and I will come back later in the week with a full report, a full prediction podcast. We'll have injury reports by that time. Just a much better grasp on what this game holds. There also might be some weather for the first time in a long time. Of course, it seems like it actually might rain here on Saturday. So we'll keep you guys posted with all that. But that's all I got. Daylan?
I quickly want to shout out Austin Simmons, man. I know he came in the late part of the game. Looked really good, man. Just footwork looked really good. His release looked really good. His accuracy, putting it on the receiver's chest, looked really good. Got him a touchdown to Daquan Wright as well. Man, he looked good. He looked really comfortable. And obviously, I know that later part of the game, Arkansas really looked scared and timid and depleted at that point of the game. But I'm just glad to see Austin get out there, get a little bit of experience, and look as prominent as he did. Because obviously we've heard so much about how great he's looked in practices and how great he was coming out of high school, but actually go out there and see him against some SEC competition was great. And he just looked really comfortable and looked to control the offense really well. And it was putting the ball right on the money. Man, he looks good. And if we can continue to get some weapons around him, watch out for the future of this offense as well. But just quick shout out to Austin Simmons, man. I thought he just had a phenomenal couple drives that he played in the game.
No, you're spot on. I thought they were going to put him in the game and just let him hand the ball off a couple times, but then they start calling some passing plays. I'm like, all right, we got something going. And then he throws just an absolute dot to Daquan Wright in the end zone. Perfect ball, splits the defenders. The future is bright in Oxford with Austin Simmons. Like I said, we said it earlier, make sure to like and subscribe to the Rebel Talk podcast. As always, Be sure to check out all our content on the rebelwalk.com. Is that all you got, Daylan?
Yeah, man. See you guys in a few days, man. Just continue to support, man. Be at the vault Saturday. Be there early. It's
Yeah.
a once in a lifetime opportunity. We don't get too many opportunities like this in Oxford, so just come out and enjoy and be loud, man. We're gonna need you guys to support. I want this to be a really loud game for us, and I want this crowd to be rocking. So be in Oxford Saturday and have a great time.
It's going to be good, man. Barstool, I believe, is coming with their live show.
Mhm.
SEC Nation's going to be there. It's going to be insane, man. Until then, be sure to stay tuned to the rebelwalk.com for all your Ole Miss sports needs and the Rebel Walk YouTube. Dale and I will come back with a prediction later this week. And as always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hotty Toddy.
Hotty Toddy, y'all.